governs the law that separates things. Right? So it's like a pound of feathers and the 1 pound brick drop from 30,000 feet. Which one gonna hit the ground first? The only way that the brick hit the ground first is if the feathers are not contained. If the feathers are contained, like in a pillowcase, they'll hit at the same time because the weight is the same. The only thing that the feathers being in a larger container might experience more drag, which would give us the illusion that they fell at a different rate. But if you can compact the same amount of density and weight of feathers into the same space as a brick, they gonna both hit like a brick. Right. So that's the war of the butterfly. Butterfly fighting the dragon, and you need a trillion butterflies to kill it. Right. But he probably ain't no telling how many butterflies you're gonna lose in the fight from the dragon. Right. So they use the Orgon accumulator to extract the ether and put it in a usable form, and they call it Orgon. And that is solidified ether. Dr. Delbert Blair talks about what's called ore energy, which is primordial base energy. When you're looking at the pyramids, Rich, most of that stuff are metaphysical calculations of creation in some part of the creation or the other. Right. And you use the same methodology to reorganize the society based on the balancing of those equations. They real simple, but they complex. It's complex because we don't know what they mean, but it's simple in the message that they trying to relay. Where does this thing keep sliding?
You good, Rod?
Yeah, my phone keeps sliding and trying to I got it. I think I got it. It's fine. You keep sliding across this thing I got it propped up on.
Serious, please be quiet. All right, so Rod, so let me ask you this now. All right. When you mention the ether and you was comparing it to water, I thought about something you know, that they when they talk about the cosmos, and the best representation they have of the cosmos is, let me show this.
Right, that's because the sacred 369. Remember, you brought up Tesla earlier.
Yeah.
You say when you understand the power of the 3, 6, and the 9, then you understand the fabric of the universe. Right. So when you look at it, all it is different directions of curls. Right. The 3, the 6, the 9.
That's deep. Just different direction of curls. That's deep.
Right. Deep. But this is all taken from, the Afro hairstyle is a representation of the uterus. Right. The energy field around the uterus represents the hair, and the uterus itself is represented by the face. It's a homage to the Great Mother. So you had tribes both over in the Americas, the old Mississippians especially, they had Afro chiefs that wore them big old afros so that they could be seen by the same way as the other tribes wore the war bonnet. When Tukey came down the street with his afro picked out, everybody knew from 4 blocks away that here come Tukey. You can't miss him. All you got to do is look for the muscles in the afro, and you know it's him and his crew. Right. So the hair itself is showing you the expressions of the 3, 6, 9 by the curl. 9 ether being ether to the 9th power, the 9th power of 9, which a lot of people said Malachi was insane until the scientists got a hold of the formula and applied it in a repeatable fashion, and then he wasn't so crazy. Now he has to go. So when you look at the hair follicles also mimic the brain cells. When you looked at that the fabric of the universe is showing you the same fabric of the layout of the neurons in the brain. It's the same way that the hairs is laid out in the afro, right? And that's to facilitate a more entropy-free exchange of energy. It's the entropy that causes the decay, that causes the spiritual information to be lost in translation to the recipient of the information, right? And by tending properly to your hair, and no matter which form you use it in, if you hold it sacred, you will be able to use it as the sympathetic link to tune in to etheric fields. And the etheric field is going to always be based on your personal vibrational frequency, which will play out in your dream state. Because where you vibrate at in the physical, and when you bring that together with the mental paradigm of who you are, it'll give you a projection to understand spiritual things in the dream state. Mm-hmm. Right? So all of those things are interconnected. Just like the ether is everywhere. It connects all things, so all things are connected.
Right. You know, and Rod, ether, one of the things that moving forward with this channel, I want to continue to stress or continue to highlight is the fact that empty space is not empty. What we call empty space, and we all see empty space in our homes, and you know, when we go outside, you know, we see plenty of empty space, and you know, it's filled with ether. I want to ask you this, Rod. Let me ask you this. Let me see, because I could go in so many directions. All right, so they say the universe is like 90-something% empty space. They say our bodies is like 90-something% quote unquote empty space. Now, our homes, you know, this is like where we live. This is like our sanctuary. This is our castle. This is where we come to escape from the, you know, the stresses of the world. I think it's a very spiritual environment for all of us. Should our homes as well, Rod, because when goes into feng shui, should our homes as well represent 90-something% empty space in order for us to tap into this etheric energy? Because sometimes we may be cluttered and we have too much shit in our homes and we can't think straight. This is why some people don't like a lot of shit in their home, because this is like a direct reflection of not only the universe, but our bodies, when it's 97% empty space and just a chair, a desk, a table, or this or that. Is this why it's supposed to be like that in the science of feng shui?
That's applicable to certain people. But you've seen people with a cluttered house with OCD, where every single thing in their house got a designated spot and it got a lot of stuff in there.
Good point. Good point.
Spiritually, what's going on with those people is they spiritually in tune and they seeing everything they have spiritually, and they building the physical representation in their environment. Right. And they're using the orderness, you know, because order is the first thing after the Big Bang, because chaos came and the order had to put everything in a designated place.
Right.
Right. So even amidst what looked like chaos to everybody else, these people have the knack to be well organized in their chaos. Even if a lot of them be old Christian ladies. The irony of that is, if they practice chaos magic, they would be the coldest.
Wow.
They're natural chaos magicians, taking chaos and creating order out of chaos. They problem solvers too.
Wow. That's deep. So let me ask you this. Earlier, you talked about you used the word intentions, right? And in terms of let's think about water, and we and we see when we throw a rock in the pond of water, the rock generates waves within the water that goes out. What our intention when we're talking about the ether in this field that permeates the entire universe is our intention, like that rock. When we send out an intention, is our intention that rock that hits the etheric waters and sends out a wave that will eventually come back to us, depending on how hard our intention, i.e. the rock, is that we sent out. Right.
Yeah. So the good comparative analysis is the rock dropped in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the intention is more focused in the bucket, which is represented by the water, it returns back to the center from which the rock pierced the water faster.
Right.
But if you drop it in the ocean, it's still gonna come back, but who knows when? Right? That's a unrefined intentions. That means that you want it, you think you deserve it, but you don't know how to get it, so you don't think you're gonna ever get it. So that makes it take longer to come back. Oh, that's why they say don't put yourself in a box. Stand in the circle, stand on pi 3.14, the center of the circle. Because everything that you put out from the center has to return back to the center in due time. Right. In the manner, the tighter your intention field is, the faster it can return. Remember, we was talking about Brother Panic and those platonic solids that he was using for manifestation.
Polite. No, Brother Polite.
Brother Polite, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that is, when you use those, you are going in between intentions of similar ideas. And then you infusing it with your willpower, which makes your barrel smaller for your ripples to return faster. So this is why he was using that. That's an old kinetic science that's most people don't know how to properly activate.
Very interesting. All right, Rod. So one of the things you mentioned, Brother Panic, and I don't want to misquote Brother Panic. Rest in power to Brother Panic. Shout out to Khadijah. I talked to his wife the other day. I'm actually going to be doing some family with her in February. She's going to be doing a presentation on the channel. So shout out to Khadijah and rest in power to the spirit, the soul of Brother Panic. But I don't want to misquote him. But he said something along the lines of, now when we talk about ether, when you see the pentagram, I hope I'm saying it right. The pentagram, they said the top part represents the ether. I believe Panic said when you want to manifest something, this is why certain people wear the pentagram upside down, because that represents bringing the ether down to this realm. Talk to me about why some people may wear a upside down, or when they do rituals, they may have an upside down pentagram versus some people have a pointing up pentagram. Rob, what might be the difference in manifesting something?
Well, it's the power, the energy frequency you're using for manifestation, right? So first of all, you gotta know what the pentagrams is. The 5-pointed star is the pentagram, and it's the representation of the divine feminine as Venus energy. The upside down pentagram is the masculine takeover of the feminine by decapitating the woman. So you gave her a phallus and took her head. So you're using the reverse of her system against her, or the feminine nature. But people think when you say feminine and divine feminine that you're talking about gender. It's about frequency.
What divine feminine?
Right. So the women just have the more of the tools to activate the feminine to a higher degree of expression than the male, who have the anatomy to manifest the masculine to the highest potential of male. Right. So that's the difference in the two. So when you're using the energy, ascending energy and descending energy, fraternal twins, Gemini field, between two pillars, When you're using the energy going up, that's the upward facing triangle. When you use it drawing down the energy, that's the downward facing triangle. Right. So what you're trying to do is meet in the middle, and that gives you the 6-point star. But when you see it in the 3-dimensional expression, you have what's called the Merkaba, 2 pyramids interlocked.
Right. I was going to
right.
ask you.
And then when you spin the Merkaba, you start to produce the crown of life. The crown of life is how the Merkaba look when it's fully spinning. It's moving too fast for you to see it with the naked eye, so it looked like a ball with a whole bunch of sides. This is how the elders explain it in the Kemetic philosophies when they're showing us the difference in the fields of the energy. This is why modern religion took out things like the Jed, which means that you need a pillar or a polarizing force. Just like you need a catalyzing force, you need a polarizing force. A polarizing force, if you can control the polarizing force, you can control both sides of the pole. Right? And this is, back again, standing on 3.14, standing on pi in the center of the circle. But first, you have to learn to govern your micro circle before you can start dabbling in your macro circle. First, you have to get yourself under control before you try to control others. And the way that you control yourself will determine how you control others. If you're hard on yourself, you're going to be hard on other people. And they don't understand the people that's hard on them. It's hard on them because they're hard on themselves. But it really is not being hard on you. What it really is being forcing you to stand on your determination and exercise your willpower by showing you what it looked like when somebody stand on their principles and exercise their willpower. And we tend to become so soft in this modern era that it becomes offensive for somebody to become direct, standing on their principles and exercising their willpower. We get offended because we not doing it. Right? Everybody want to be like Mike, but don't nobody want to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning shooting free throws.
I'm telling you, man.
And everybody that wanted to be like Mike that made it to that level, Kobe Bryant or LeBron or James, you got to look at the practice that got them to the level.
Right.
Because it's the practice that determines the outcome when it comes time to get in that ring. When the rubber meet the road and it's time for the fight, what did you train yourself for?
Right.
Right. That's all using that force, by the way.
That force, right.
And the better trained you is, the more adept you is at using the force. Right. And then it comes out expressed as muscle memory. Right, or rote memory, but it comes out as some kind of memory recall mechanism.
Right.
You put the work in, you're going to get the results out, though they might not be as fast as you would like them to be. They coming. But most people don't have the drive to put the work in, so they never train themselves to use their willpower to bring about their best life.
Right. And hold on, where's this at? Give me a second, y'all. In Plato's, and I should be showing this on the screen, but let me just read this. In Plato's Timaeus, I hope I'm saying that right. Timaeus. So in Plato's Timaeus, he says, speaking on the topic of air, he said, there is the most translucent kind, which is called by the name ether. I want to ask you, with him saying that, Rod, I want to ask you. Now, I've heard Delbert, you mentioned Dr. Blair earlier. I've heard you and many others say that the air they breathed in antiquity when the giants roamed the land is not the air that we breathe now. Did they breathe a more direct form of ether? And what we get now is a bootleg version, but they was getting that, you know how you get cocaine and that shit is pure, and then some niggas step on it? Are we getting the stepped on cocaine? Are we breathing the stepped on cocaine? But they had the raw and uncut cocaine, i.e. ether, back in antiquity, and this is why they were giants, Rod. Is this what Plato's referring to?
The size was based on the 12-strand DNA, and the oxygen transfer capability. The oxygen is critical. Because remember, they say so biblically, this is how they tell it. They say that the waters of the sky was separated from the waters of the earth, right? And never knowing it's still water between the upper atmosphere and the earth, but it's not. It's a different part of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is in layers, right? But the layer that we was breathing during the Atlantean era before the war that caused nuclear contamination was the ozone oxygen, double oxygen molecules that reduce the amount of entropy produced in the process of breathing, which is the transfer of spirit inner and outer in order to recycle the energy field. Now, if you look at the air that we breathe in, we have all these other chemicals and gases in the air that's been put in there. That's radioactive particles. Then you have some that's that activate on organs and do different stuff to the organs. All these is chemicals that's in the air. People be worrying about eating clean food, but ain't nobody worried about breathing clean air. And the air quality is directly related to the size of the animal that dwelled on the planet. The dinosaurs couldn't live in this oxygenated environment unless they downsized their massive bulk, because the oxygen would not be sufficient to facilitate them in their survival. They would slowly suffocate.
Right.
We already got fish scales, but they just call it ashy skin.
No, he talking about fish scale is that pure cocaine. So he making a reference. He making a reference to that pure cocaine.
Yeah, that Peruvian flake.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, y'all some funny dudes in the chat. Very, very interesting conversation. Rod, so what I want to ask you about now is they say, all right, let me ask you this, Rod. All right, so a lot of things got demonized. Some of the most spiritual things that can help us got demonized. So
like
Baphomet, all that type of stuff. Everything that pretty much could benefit, they turn evil or to the devil or unlucky, like the number 13, things like that. So they say, researching on the internet, they say that the middle finger represents the ether. Now the middle finger has been demonized, Rodney. You put up the middle finger, if you're spiritual and you go like this, you feel like a derelict. You feel horrible. You feel like a degenerate.
This is ether.
So why on the internet they say the middle finger is ether then?
That's air. It's earth, fire, air, water, ether. Some people may use it to represent the ether, right? Because remember, what happened